props here on PrizePicks for Monday, October 16th. Monday Night Football. We got the Chargers versus the Cowboys here. Before we get started, link in the description below. You can get into our premium Discord. $9.30 per month. Comes out to 31 cents per day here. So where I post all the plays I'm making on PrizePicks. We also have other premium cappers in there as well that post all of their plays, research, and analysis. Super positive community, you guys. Everyone in there really is trying to help each other cash. All the members really posting all their plays, their slips, what they're thinking on certain plays. Again, super positive community. Go ahead and check out the link in the description for that. Also, I do need to mention I'm not a gambling expert and this is not financial advice. These are simply plays I'm personally looking at making. Hopefully give you guys some research and analysis to make your own player prop decisions here. But this should be a good game, right? I think this is, to me, one of the more exciting Monday Night Football games we've gotten all season. But keep in mind, we were expecting a great game with the Cowboys and the 49ers last Sunday, and we know what that went, absolute blowout. But this one here, I think should be a little bit better. Obviously, the Chargers don't have the defense that the 49ers have. And obviously, the Cowboys' defense is banged up as well. We saw the 49ers put up 40-plus points just last week against them. So this should be a good game. Taking a look at kind of this matchup here, it's a 1.5-point spread with a 51 over-under. So I definitely want to say this may be the highest over-under of any game on the week. Let's just double-check this. Yeah, so without question, the highest over-under of any game on the week at 51. I mean, an NFL game at 51 with a 1.5-point spread should give us a good game environment, right? Just for offense, for just overall scoring and production from both these teams. Taking a look at some injury notes as well. I know that obviously Trevon Diggs is out for the season for the Cowboys, and then Leighton Vander Esch, starting linebacker, one of their captains in the defense, he's also out for this game. So just a little bit more banged up for the Cowboys defensively. Chargers, it's looking like Parham, the tight end, is doubtful. Derwin James is probably going to play full practice on Saturday. Joey Bosa is supposed to play, and so is Austin Eckler supposed to play as well. So it should be a good one, honestly. You have to take a look at the Vegas odds, right? 1.5-point spread, 51 over under, and you just have to hope that it's on pace because, you take a look at Sunday Night Football last night, Bills Giants. The Bills were 15.5-point favorites, and that game went down to all the way to the final play. So it's been weird NFL season so far as the lines and things like that, and then trying to base your fantasy player props based on those lines. But that's really all we have to do in this situation. I also do like the game script for this as well because both these teams are top 11 in overall plays per game. The Chargers 67 total plays per game and the Dallas Cowboys 66 total plays per game. So we know both these teams like to push the ball downfield and both these teams like to play with pace here. But yeah, let's just get into these two player props that I do like. Both these plays I'm taking fantasy scores here because I definitely think they positively correlate. The first play is going to be Tony Pollard over 15.5 fantasy score here. I think this is just a bounce back game for Pollard against definitely a Chargers defense that can't stop the run and just allows a lot of explosive plays, which we know Tony Pollard can do. Tony Pollard, you can see here, he hit in both of his first two games of the year against the Giants and the New York Jets, and then finished with 15.1 against Arizona. But then these games against New England and San Francisco finished with 9 in both these games, but both these games super weird. New England, they obviously blew them out. That was a complete blowout against New England. And then the San Francisco Giants, they got blown out. So the usage he wasn't really needed in either of those game scripts. But we take a look at Tony Pollard, right? Dating back to last season, right? He smashed the over on this numerous times. Go back all the way to 2021. He played the Chargers in the same situation in Los Angeles. He finished with 23 PPR fantasy points in that matchup, 109 on the ground, a rushing touchdown, as well as 3 receptions for 31 yards. We look at just the Chargers, right? They've only played 4 games compared to all the teams above them have played 5 and 6, but 19.3 fantasy points per game. If on a 4-game basis, they have the 3rd most fantasy points per game to the running back position. We look at running back game log this season, PPR wise, versus the Chargers. Alexander Madison, 17.5 PPR fantasy points and did not even score a touchdown. Derrick Henry, 18.5 PPR fantasy points, only had 80 rushing yards, 25 carries in that game. And then Josh Jacobs, 27.9 PPR fantasy points against the Chargers. Just been absolutely gashed. Even dating back to last season, the Chargers, if we go back to 2022, right, similar defense. I think Brandon Staley still calls all the play calls. The Chargers, the most yards per carry in the NFL last season to running backs. The most in the NFL to running backs, you guys. They just got absolutely gashed on the ground here. We know that Mike McCarthy wants to run the ball. We know that the entire, Cowboys offense is looking to get reset here in this matchup, and I definitely think they, go to Tony Pollard early and often. He's dominating the snap count, right? 53 and 69 in these last 2 weeks. which were complete blowouts, right? Games that he did not really need to do much because of the game script. But then before that, 64, 64, and 86% of the snap count in week 3, which I believe week 3 was somewhat of a close game against Arizona when they were actually, it was close. They were playing from behind. They actually lost that game. So it should be a great spot for Tony Pollard. And then we just look at the odds, right? The odds for Tony Pollard. This is Outlier, you guys. There's a link in the description. You get a 7-day free trial with Outlier. They, my opinion, one of the best research betting tools in sports betting. I use this app every single day, and their mobile app on the phone is a great app as well. But you look at Tony Pollard. For him to go over 93.5 rush plus reception yards on Caesars, he's minus 133, minus 120. But look at this odds to score a touchdown tonight, you guys. Minus 185 on FanDuel, which is, I mean, you really don't see just odds for a touchdown tonight for running backs this high. Minus 185 on FanDuel, you guys. Minus 160 on DraftKings to score a touchdown tonight. So I think that combined with the reception work that he's going to get at the backfield, obviously this is PPR scoring. If he can get us 2 to 4 to 5 receptions out the backfield, this should be an easy over. Again, if you don't like his fantasy score, I would pivot. I also do like his 93.5 rush plus reception yards as well. But Tony Pollard, 15.5 fantasy score is going to be the first play in this matchup. The second play here, we're going with the opposite. The quarterback is going to be Justin Herbert, 19.5. I think Justin Herbert in this matchup, obviously, the Cowboys defense, I think they got exposed. I think they honestly got exposed last week against the 49ers, right? We saw just last week Brock Purdy, 26.1 fantasy points, 252 in the air, 4 touchdowns. I think them losing Trevon Diggs, them losing Leighton Vander Esch definitely opened up some holes across the middle of the field, obviously in the secondary, and put Stephon Gilmore on the number 1 wide receiver. Stephon Gilmore, probably going to be on Keenan Allen tonight. But Justin Herbert, I just love targeting the Chargers offense as a whole on both sides of the ball. Like game stacking Charger games have been pretty profitable, I think, over the last 2 years or so. But Justin Herbert, he's in a great spot at 19.5. He's cleared this line in every single game this season. 24.4, 29.3, 22.2, and 20.9. And he's kind of gotten slowly better each game. And we take a look at some odds for Justin Herbert as well to go over 1.5 passing touchdowns, which obviously positively correlates to 19.5 fantasy score. Minus 145 on DraftKings, minus 151 over on Caesars to go over 1.5 passing touchdowns. He's also minus 125 on Caesars to go over 36.5 passing attempts, minus 123 on Caesars to go over 10.5 rushing yards. So kind of all of these lines kind of positively correlate to his fantasy score here, and Justin Herbert's been just super efficient, right? Efficiency, expected fantasy points per game, 25.7 expected fantasy points per game, which is number 2 in the National Football League for quarterbacks, number 2 in the National Football League, guys. And I definitely think just the narrative for this game, right, surrounding, given the game script, right, 1.5 point spread, I believe the Cowboys are 1.5 point favorites, 51 over under. Take a look at this, guys. Kellen Moore, former Cowboys offensive coordinator, now the offensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Chargers. This is an article on The Athletic. Chargers ready for Kellen Moore revenge game. Cowboys, he's going to keep scoring. Right, here's a quote from Mike McCarthy back on March 1st, right, talking about Kellen Moore's decision to go to Los Angeles. I've been where Kellen has been. Kellen wants to light up the scoreboard, but I want to run the damn ball so I can rest my defense. I think when you're a coordinator, but you're in charge of the offense. Being a head coach and being a play caller, you're a little bit more tuned in with everything. I don't desire to be the number 1 offense in the league. I want to be the number 1 team in the league with wins and championships, right? And here's a quote from Chargers receiver. Kellen wants to put up 100 points on them. The Kellen Moore revenge game. Kellen Moore was with the Cowboys for 2 full seasons. He knows their defensive schemes and things like that. He's going to put plays, right? Chargers also coming off a bye week. Coming off a bye week this week as well. So they've had an entire, 10 to 15 days to, work on certain things to exploit this Dallas Cowboys defense, right? Kellen Moore is in a situation where he's obviously trying to, get some extra motivation, right? The Cowboys, essentially, I don't know if they let him go but they parted ways. So this is a spot for Kellen Moore. Justin Herbert is his quarterback, going to be the number 1 beneficiary of certain play calls and things like that. Also with Austin Eckler coming back as well. Austin Eckler back fully healthy, supposed to not be on any sort of snap count or anything like that. really, really helps Justin Herbert as well. Just getting another dynamic offensive playmaker in that game. But then as well, coming off the bye week, implementing Eckler back into the offense, getting Quentin Johnston going as well with losing Mike Williams for the season. I think it's a great spot on a kind of a low opportunity here at 19.5 fantasy score for Justin Herbert, who has smashed this line in all 4 games this year. So again, both these plays here, you guys, if you got to the end of this video, both these plays obviously correlate to the game script that we are getting projected from Vegas. 51 over under, 1.5 point spread. Keep that in mind, you guys. Like if there's a blowout from either of these teams, it's tough for these plays to hit, right? And keep that in mind. Let me know in the comments below how you guys feel about these two. Drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and as always, let's cash.